So today is the day that we assemble our, hopefully, smart lantern. We have this red Dietz No. 20 Junior lantern, and we are going to wire it up to use this small 4-watt LED bulb. It's an LED style bulb that has what looks like filament in it, so you can, kind of get that more vintage look with it. But it doesn't get hot and it uses very little power. And to do that, we could have just wired it up to a switch or just wired it up to a cord and use it on the light switch. But I wanted to integrate it into our sort of fledgling home assistant setup. So I ordered this dimmer. This is made by a company called Shelly. This is the Dimmer 2. And I'll be able to plug in voltage from the wall, the bulb, and then also use a small switch. And this switch I ordered isn't an on and off switch, it's just a momentary switch, so it doesn't latch or anything like that. But the dimmer is smart enough to let the switch do turning it on, turning it off, and then turning up the brightness and down the brightness. So you'll still be able to use the lamp even though it's hooked into our smart home system, just by using a little button, which is nice. You don't ever want to build anything for your smart home that then doesn't work when you can't get to the computer interface. So I've had to do a couple of modifications. One of those was to put a hole in the fuel filler cap that goes here on the lantern base. We were hoping to get the hole centered, and it is nearly centered. We also modified this section here. This is the part of the base where the wick used to go through. In the bottom would be fuel, and you'd put the wick on here and it would siphon the fuel up. We had to do a little bit of modification to it, and we cut out kind of a chunk that was in here, and then the base for the bulb fits in pretty easily. So that worked out fairly well, and this is the first kind of project we've done. So all of the parts I ordered already had these electrical leads on the end. I didn't want to have to do a lot of soldering. So I'm also not, we're going to wire it up here and get the whole thing working, but I'm not really going to share too much about the electrical side. I'm not an electrician, and you shouldn't take my advice on those sorts of things. But
nor mine.
Yeah. But basically, the voltage will come in from the wall. It will feed to the bulb, and then this switch is rated for US power. Basically, it's rated for 120 volt power, so it's safe to use, and that feeds into one of the switch inputs on the Shelly dimmer. It supports 2 switches, so you could have a switch on and off, and you could also have a switch to do the dimming. So we're doing it all with that one push button switch and the intelligence on the dimmer. So we are going to work to get this thing wired up. The only other modifications we had to make is we widened out this section here where the base of the bulb fits through so that it would be a little bit larger for the bulb. It doesn't look perfect, but it looks pretty good. I think we did pretty well for a very first project.
It was really hard with the file, trying to get it. I've never had to file metal before.
Yeah,
so
and this
was interesting.
This doesn't easily disassemble. It's all kind of pressed metal, so we didn't want to have to break apart too much of it. You'll see in the footage, I sent out a little message in the family group text we have if anybody had a Dremel, because I thought a small handheld drill sort of thing like that would be really helpful. And my dad piped up very quickly and said he had all the tools we could need, and he certainly did, but they were, in some cases, much larger than I think would have suited a project of this size. So we got all the work done. It went fine, but some of the stuff is a little bit more rough and ready, I think, than if we had really taken a lot of time, with this hole in the bottom. So I think it came out great. We're really happy with it, and for a first project, I think we're in good shape. So we drilled this small hole in the back that will feed the electrical cord through, but then we needed a place to kind of tuck all the other components once they're wired, so we cut a hole in the bottom as well. Nothing's going to come out of this hole, but we just want to be able to put the stuff inside there. So we made sure the tank was empty of fuel, of course, and that's how it came to us. It was already empty of fuel, and we rinsed it out and we cleaned it in the sink last week, which was easy. I shouldn't say it was easy. Last week was fairly time consuming, but that was our first step, was to wash it out in the sink. So first step for the assembly, this is just regular lamp cord. It's just got neutral and the positive cable, and I'm gonna fit that through this hole here in the back. fairly easy. Like that. You can see there's still bits and things coming out of the bottom. The next piece is this part for the bulb. This is what holds the bulb in place. And we need to get it wired into the dimmer, but we can't fully assemble it yet because we have to insert the bulb. It's kind of a tricky process as the piece gets assembled. But the bulb is good for like 10,000 hours, so it's not something you should have to do very often. If it were an incandescent bulb, it would be kind of a hassle, but because it's an LED bulb, it should burn for a long time. So I'm gonna insert that here, which also comes out the bottom. And then the final piece is the fuel filler cap and the switch. I'm gonna feed that through. We drilled this out and then we did some filing to get it to fit. And it fits pretty well. It has a little gasket and a washer, which we aren't gonna be able to use, but it fits pretty snugly. So I am gonna put this washer on just in case to help it seat pretty well. Pretty good?
I think so.
So there you go. What we're gonna try to do is, it's pretty tight anyways, this is a little bit corroded. And so I'm gonna feed this through. Go ahead. And then, there you go. And then what I'm gonna try to do is screw it in so that the switch is sort of on the bottom. There it goes.
Yay!
Anything?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Not bad for our first little project.
Our next one will be yellow.
All right, so now I have all the cables. I have the switch, I have the bulb, and I have the wall power. Okay, so that should be good. All right, so that's all wired. So what we need to do now is put the bulb in and the glass on, and that's proven tough for us because of the angle. Once the glass is in, there's no way to get your hands in here. So you have to install the bulb. Good. Mm-hmm. And pop the glass on. And now, if you want to lift the top, we have to get the glass in there. And at the same time, this little piece of base has to get seated. And locked into position. And then we can put that down. Try to put the top down. Go ahead. There it is. Perfect.
There we are.
All right, so the old girl's wired. Got the button up front. Moment of
See if
truth.
it works.
Bulb flashes, which is good. Takes a second to kind of boot up the controller. And then when you press the button,
Yay!
light turns on. If you press and hold it at first, it gets brighter. Press it again, and it gets dimmer. And then you can press it to turn it off.
Yes.
So there we go.
We've done it.
We have our new, what would you call this? Accent light.
Yeah.
That is our Dietz No. 20 Junior Smart Lantern with a Shelly Dimmer 2. So thanks for watching. And we'll see you on the next one.